열심히 해가지고 앞으로 계속 이어가지고 꼭 이번에 롤드컵 가고 막 결승도 가고 우승도 할 테니까 더 열심히 응원해 주시고 지켜봐 주셨으면 감사하겠습니다.
정말 BBQ 입장에서는 한숨밖에 안 나오는 상황이고
흐름 자체를 한번 바꿔야 되는 BBQ거든요.
지금 이대로 밀 수 없어요. 역전해야죠, BBQ.
Welcome back, guys. 20 years later, Papa Smithy and Valdez showed up once again to cast another series of League of Legends. Afreeca Freecs up against BBQ Olivers, or as we've been calling them, the barbecue, because they've been getting barbecued. We'll see if they can show up tonight against one of the strongest teams we have in Korea currently, making it to the LCK finals in spring and looking even stronger in summer.
I'm of the opinion that Afreeca Freecs are the best team we have in the LCK, and I'm ready to eat my words if they are going to drop any games here to BBQ. BBQ on a single game victory over Griffin. They played decently in that series, honestly. Trick coming into the lineup seemed to help, but they have been largely hapless at the bottom of the table. Those are the Korean casters on your screen. We'll be there momentarily. It was an interesting stop-and-start first series where we had that very long break. Ended up with Kingzone largely taking it very easily. And now we'll see if the Afreeca Freecs are challenged against BBQ.
Well, in my personal opinion, I mean, we had a pretty quick series to start the day. Most of it was filled with podcasting.
Whoa, get off
all
the
that
screen.
good stuff. Yeah, you're not an Afreeca player. Get off. But this one, I feel like without a pause, will be even shorter in game time, even. I think, you know, we had 29 minutes and 31 minutes for the side of Kingzone over KT. You know, minus the podcast time, I think this one will be even shorter than that. Maybe like a 28 and a 23-minuter. That's my prediction.
It's very possible. The one thing we've definitely learned from the first couple of series from Afreeca is that their coach, Zephyr, their drafting coach, we should say, said this is our meta, and you have to agree. This team plays the most champions. A lot of these guys have played unique champion after unique champion. Only Keen, with his Aatrox only, is kind of the holdout there. Last season, they were already our most creative team, playing Yasuo out of meta and other stuff out of meta. These guys practice the most. Their coach are so smart. It's going to be a really fun treat to watch them again.
Let's introduce our teams. Afreeca Freecs on top of the world right now, looking for a third win in the row. Let's see who is going to be playing tonight. They do, of course, have 10 players on the roster, but 5 that play most of the time. It is going to be Keen Spirit, Kuro, Aiming, and Tucson coming on in. One of the strongest rosters that you do have in Korea at this moment in time. And what a great way to start off. You know, they defeat SKT, they defeat KT, both of the telecom companies struggling here in Korea. And that's partially due to Afreeca stomping them.
We'll be playing Aiming as a starter again. He has been largely their starter in summer season. Better laner is the kind of read we have on him over Kramer, who's a bit more defensive in the laning phase and opens up a lot of options. Both of them have been playing the non-meta stuff so far this season. Tucson and Aiming have been Vlad on Aiming, Mordekaiser Aiming, Yasuo. He actually hasn't played a traditional marksman. We'll see if that changes in this particular game. The staff are really the stars here. In the middle, you see their head coach, I Love Uv. On the left, it's Zephyr, the drafting coach for Afreeca Freecs, and also the drafting coach of the Korean national team. Played in Hong Kong a few weeks ago, and will go on to play further from there. And also on the right, it was Comet, previously of Jin Air, their other coach.
Yeah, he's big. I mean, you guys might know him as much as the other two, but he's really good at researching and analysis overall. Just, you know, watching all the different regions and studying all the different players and providing, like, the statistics and the background for, you know, the current state of the game. We also have to mention BBQ on a bit of a losing streak. 0-3 so far. They've lost 0-2 to MVP and Hanwha Life Esports. Did take one game off of Griffin, though, who have been looking pretty strong.
That was with Trick in the roster. Ghost is in as well today. Ghost and Ares have both been struggling. Yeah, 0-4 between the two of them on the Vladimir. In fact, the only Vladimir victory was Tempt, who played a single game of it. Tempt himself had a couple of pretty large mistakes. Honestly, no one can really hold their head high from BBQ. They also seemed off the boil in terms of the meta. It might be the most prepared team for the meta and the least prepared team for the meta, and that is a worrying sign, a worrying trend even for BBQ.
Yeah. Says that so far, their only big win was Kespa Cup in 2015.
ESC
ever.
Yep.
Totally different lineup, right? It's not really much that you can say, hey, we did this, look at this.
Who casted that tournament in English, Valdez? Do you remember?
Kespa Cup 2015.
It wasn't you.
No, I wasn't doing it at that time.
It was Dracos and Froscura.
Oh, really?
Yep, they were over here.
Oh, wow. I thought that was 2016.
Nope. Nope, that was the one you did. And 2017.
I didn't do that one. I never did Kespa Cup.
2016
I
was
think that
supposed
must
to
have
be
been
one.
LS and Rapid.
That might have been that. And then
That
2017.
was before my time or after my time, depending on when you look at it.
2017
Papa.
wasn't cast at all. As we look over the side of Afreeca Freecs, we normally do one-sided fights. A lot of their games are one-sided. The drafts are pretty one-sided as well.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what their average game time is, actually. Might take a quick trip over to Games of Legends. I'm sure they have that there. But, yeah, they're super dominant, and I'm sure after, if they win tonight, they'll be even up towards the top, probably tied for first. You look at the stats here for BBQ. We have to concentrate more to get a victory is certainly true. Their goal difference at 15 and first tower percentage are not that bad.
Yeah.
But KDA overall really tells the story of, well, they just don't win a lot of games.
And honestly, these stats might be just dismissible because they're in the season, but the one takeaway I want the viewers to take from this is that team fighting from BBQ has been desperately poor. They've tried to have Vladimir flanks in 5 games, and 4 of them messed up a lot of the Vladimir play. We saw Def not really be able to pull it off in the previous game either. So team fights for BBQ have been pretty woeful. Looking on the side of Afreeca, I think the name that should be celebrated more than it is Keen, the guy who was proving himself for the Korean national team. He's largely been the one-trick Aatrox, had a single other game. But you start looking at the order and the numbers he's putting up, and you're like, okay, this guy's beast moding.
He's really good. Keen, over time, he came in as a rookie. He wasn't, the big star in a lineup that had a lot of big names. But over time, this guy has just gotten better and better. The consistency of his success is really something that I love to see from a young pro gamer as himself. I mean, I think he missed his high school graduation for some pro game that he had to play in, and he's looking really good. We're going to take a look at the mid lane, too. Kuro's in a good mood. No doubt when your team is winning this much, it's hard to be in a bad mood.
He's able to play whatever he wants. The Anivia, a lot of one-offs for Kuro, whereas Tempt, he really is playing with burden. I think the Tempt has kind of got in his own head a little bit in the summer season, and the result has been that largely he hasn't been able to be that very, very consistent mid laner that the team has had to fall back on. Maybe if you can get the Zoe again, he can have a better performance, but Kuro seems pretty unburdened. Honestly, Afreeca Freecs, they're just really, really smart in the drafting phase. They just set themselves up for leads. They're practiced and they're good players on top of that. The closest to a superstar you'd maybe have to say is Tucson and Keen when it comes to breakout performances, but Kuro is rock solid. Some of their KDAs are immaculate. 11.75 is a fantastic KDA for Kuro. That Anivia game could return to Anivia at any moment. Anivia and Swain are the ones I'm keeping my eyes on in this Bruiser meta.
Yeah, and I mentioned before I wanted to check the game duration. When you have champions like Aatrox, like Anivia, Swain, takes a little bit for those champions to get online. They aren't the fastest team in the LCK right now, but they're ahead of the middle of the pack, so you got that going. We're going to jump into picks and bans for game number 1 with Valdez's favorite song. I'm going to get the download of this later, guys. And going to start off with Zoe and Shen. Couple of the big names here in the current meta.
With the Shen ban, I wonder if they will leave open Nocturne, because Spirit is our resident Nocturne. This is the first series you're watching from the LCK of Week 2, so if you missed our first series, here is the information at the bottom of your screen. Takeaway is Taliyah and Karthus, despite even having an issue in a Taliyah game earlier today, are both enabled. Neither of them are allowed to be played with Smite. So Nunu Karthus, that's not available. And also the Taliyah in the jungle. If you do pick Taliyah, you will not be able to play her in the jungle. end result, we will see Atelier banned, so at least spared that particular interaction.
Afreeca's like, I don't want any big pauses. I want to go home soon, so let's just ban Talia and take that off the table.
And Aatrox banned by BBQ. First Aatrox ban that we've incurred. It's been Aatrox and Darius only the side of Afreeca. Unfortunately, that means Nocturne's up, and Spirit says just insta-lock it, so they do.
Yeah, you know, a couple of big champions left available, another one of them being Irelia, but Irelia has something like a 19% win ratio here in the LCK. I know it's still early, but then you look at Nocturne, who's something like 9-2, so definitely popping off there. Vlad, another big name, is going to be picked up, so high-tier champions here picked by BBQ.
But it's BBQ picking up the Vlad that's only had success in mid lane, and they're pairing it with a mid lane champion, because Irelia is predominantly mid lane. So given their struggles with Vladimir, I hope the scrims have been coming together better on the side of Afreeca. They're looking at those two and thinking it's going to be Vlad bot lane, so why not go Mordekaiser? He gets access to the minion wave and builds up that passive. Will certainly get going, and Keen says, well, I can only play 2 champions at one time, so he's going to play Darius.
You took away one of them. You didn't ban Darius. I have a win on Darius too. I will just pick it in. Probably blind pick. Could be Irelia. Probably not, but
Darius really beats Irelia, by the way.
Exactly. You don't want to put that Irelia up into the top lane.
But knowing this team, I bet they're pretty flexible when it comes to lane assignments. Nice draft here from BBQ. You know that Mordekaiser is very likely to be bot lane. It's been played mid lane in other regions, but likely to be bot lane. Why not take Soraka into what will effectively be 2 melee champions most of the time? Maybe a Rakan to try to engage on the Soraka. You could ban away the Rakan. You feel good about the Soraka versus Mordekaiser interaction and Soraka versus Bruises anyway. I do like the Soraka pick on the side of BBQ.
That is pretty cool. Looks like kind of a negative or something. I don't know what you would call it, but it's a cool picture nonetheless of Spirit. Well done.
Spirit seems in good spirits this season. I know that's an awkward thing to say. I didn't mean that on purpose. Sorry, guys. But he looks so kind of over it by the end of last season that I'm happy to see.
Yeah,
he's refreshed in the summer season. A lot of people need to be. Let's crank bans. Already some coverage for Ignar. Ignar on Soraka is certainly pretty far away from what you were hoping for from Ignar. I'm sure a lot of people want to see Pike or other engaged champions. The Soraka is pretty much for team rather than for his own personal playstyle of being a big engaged player.
And thank Mundo that Mundo is banned. We're not going to be seeing any Mundos rolling over anyone in the top lane, so they take that away.
But does it make you wonder? Because one of the best matchups against Mundo is Darius, and Mundo's been banned. So what does that say about who's going where? Aiming has been playing Darius in solo queues, so has Kuro and Kramer, who's not currently playing this game. So everyone's been playing a bit of Darius, so we're never 100% sure. The Mordekaiser can go into other roles as well.
What will be the last man? Israel. Another good ban. Always like to compliment the Afreeca Freecs coaching staff. They always seem to have really solid pick ban. Their drafting is some of the best that we have.
And you think about why. Why Mundo and Ezreal banned, and you then have to consider what they have. They want Darius versus Irelia. So the Mundo being there, you might think, oh, but then the Darius fits top, okay, but they don't want to have that potential. They want to have the lane matchups they're looking for. And that's why you're seeing the bans from the side of Afreeca to try to make BBQ more predictable in a very unpredictable meta. Speaking of unpredictable, we find a hook champion, it's not the Blitzcrank, it's going to be the Thresh for Tucson.
I mean, this guy, he loves to engage. He doesn't want to play the Alistar. It's actually banned. They also pick up Swain here last, so another guy who's just really big in the meta nowadays, and they picked that up last to round out their big bruiser composition.
And now the lane assignments will be fun to see. The counter to the bruisers has been Anivia and Swain, who are both very good against bruisers. In long team fights, Kuro will be able to put out big damage. Here are the lane assignments. Going to wait and see how everything finally shakes out. Looking very likely to be an Orin top lane. It's not going to get the Darius Irelia matchup yet. It could still change up to 20 seconds. And they would really like to have Darius against Irelia if possible.
Yeah, we could have some weird wonky stuff happen where both teams swap right at the last moment. So watch until the 20-second mark here. Seems like Kuro is going to stick on the Swain. No swaps here. Keen just up on the Darius is kind of what we expected. The only other champion that he's played outside of Aatrox is the Darius. They pick it early, can't be banned out. Make sure they get keen on some comfort up in the top lane. At least for BBQ, Ornn is good into pretty much anything. And it's not the easiest matchup into Darius, but he can certainly handle it.
And Thresh is not the easiest matchup into Soraka compared to the Blitzcrank, where it's not a lot more non-committal. Can definitely have outplay potential here as Soraka. The battle for the first minion wave could be big. We'll see if both teams try to rush down bot lane and get control over the minion wave early. Tricks on the Skarner that we've seen struggle quite a lot in the summer season, where Spirit is on ultra comfort in the Nocturne. Was trying to bring it back into the meta at the end of spring season. It's squarely in the meta as summer season continues.
Yeah, certainly when you look at the jungle, you do have to give that advantage point over to the side of Afreeca. Spirit on Nocturne. He's carried a couple of times on that pick. It's going to be Trick's first time playing it this season. Has a lot of experience on it in different seasons, of course. But can he make it work in this meta is the real question.
Definitely not a game lost at draft for BBQ. Very excited to see if they can play it out, because they're going with some things that haven't worked so far in the summer season.
So guys, the game is ready to go. Game 1 of Afreeca Freecs versus BBQ. Let's get it rolling. Fans coming on in decent numbers for both of these teams.
Tucson put down a ward and then very early changed the sweeper. Observer will show that to us.
I like that.
Becoming more and more common on this patch to experiment with sweeper level 1 or early change over to sweeper. You want to get brush control. You also want to know where Soraka is. So it's both for the ability to clear vision, but also to make people predictable when it comes to the inevitable face checks that happen around those duo lanes.
You know what I've been noticing coming back in a, it's not a huge way, but in a moderate way, is the stopwatch, actually. We saw 3 members from Kingzone take it in game 1 up against KT. We see it here. 3 different people have it. The Swain and the Thresh even, as well as Vladimir. Did go for phase rush, by the way. No electrocute on this Vladimir.
The all-in potential on Mordekaiser is a lot lower, so that's why a bit of respect there. They're just relying on Soraka for lane presence. I take your point. I actually think that perfect timing got buffed. It got the earlier duration. It's 8 minutes now, so you can use the stopwatch, as Tucson is fully enjoying the Soraka matchup, as we could see. But the earlier timing, the fact that Nocturne, a lot of all-in fights, how much value, we've seen so much value out of stopwatches this season.
Oh, yeah.
The all-stopwatch comp against the Karthus Nunu and all the Zonias that came from it. A lot of value in stopwatch, and that's why we'll see more and more of it if there's no more changes.
Definitely help you out once that Vladimir hits level 6 as well. You want to dodge the Hemo Plague.
Cleanse was the summoner choice by Ignar, so he can step up and not be worried about dealing with any sort of all-in from Tucson, as Aiming just walks over and uses Siphon of Destruction on the Krugs to try to build up a bit of shield. It's not going to work for now, so the passive is completely gone, and that means that Aiming and Tucson can't really enter the minion wave. They have to range farm with the W.
Oh. Helps him get a bit of health as well on the Krugs. I watch LS's stream from time to time. He plays with a guy named Max. I forget exactly. Maybe he was any challenger. I don't know 100%. But they play bot lane Mordekaiser Shen.
Yeah.
And works out very well. They play it almost every game that they can. And they like to do that little trick on the Krugs when they're on the blue side.
Mordekaiser Shen is very powerful as a duo. We've known that Shen's support is right up there in terms of meta. We're seeing a lot of Shen bans. Shen ban in this game. That's why we don't see Shen Nocturne on the blue side. Speaking of what we do have on the blue side, a lot of power dealing with melee champions and dive champions when we do hit the team fight phase, Mordekaiser and Swain, even the Darius. So in extended bruiser fights, you have to really like the Afreeca Freecs. Whereas for BBQ, they have engaged. There's really no engage for Afreeca. Nocturne goes in, no one else can really get there with him. Not going to include Swain hitting a random never move, and the power of the death sentence in team fights is also pretty limited. Afreeca have a comp that plays best if they control the objectives. You're forcing the enemy team to come to you. Afreeca have a lot of power. If the enemy team's not coming to you, then BBQ. They can get a couple of kills, do have strong engage, and that can be very powerful when it comes to closing games.
Trying to bait them into a fight here as Trick is going to make his way down into the bottom lane. The Lantern is not going to be coming in. Oh, it actually does, but the Ignite is not enough to kill him, and Tucson saves Aiming's life. Aiming waiting until the last second to click onto that Lantern, and he makes it out alive.
He actually got him out of there. Insane that he lives through all of that. Holy moly, BBQ are going to feel cheated.
That looked like the easiest gank to pull off. And they were so close. The Mordekaiser so low.
I'm so excited to go over the replay because there's so many little things that happen here, and there was no wasted movement. Aiming couldn't click on the Lantern earlier because they double stood on it, but he might just die anyway.
Well, he comes up here trying to farm, and now he's going to be slowed down. He does have the Nocturne, though. He's turning it around. He gets the heal, or rather the flash out of Vignar, too. Fear comes in on the Ghost, but they're not going to fully commit, as Tucson wasn't there entirely, but he's here now. That means that BBQ will have to back off.
That is the most eventful couple of moments in a Mordekaiser laning phase I have ever seen. Should have been dead twice. The team comes back, helps him through it. Trick's going to pick up a lot of experience under turret because Ghost has gone back to base. But wow, the Dear Diary entry here is going to be pretty epic for Afreeca's bot lane. Please, SpoTV, show us through it. So what happens here? A lot of things happen. Aiming walks up, that part is clear. Remember, he has no shield at the start of this, and it looks like he's going to straight up die. Trick comes in, he can't click the Lantern for the longest time. Eventually gets the Lantern, he flashes away. Now, note what happens here. First the flare, that's big. Tucson also flashes. The reason why he flashes is he wants to stop an attack move from going on to his Mordekaiser, so he actually flashes in, so the attack move will hit the Thresh instead. That flash was not a waste, it was actually genius.
That's just the genius of Tucson, really. I mean, this guy, he made a name being one of the biggest engage support players in the LCK last season, and this season he's showing just how good he really is. He's not just an Alistair engage bot, Rakan engage bot. He can do a lot more than that. And it was funny watching Aiming trying to zoom in onto the Lantern, trying to get that click in there. We all know the frustration of trying to click on a Thresh Lanterns when you just cannot against a ward.
Well, that was really cool. All right, so we did see something cool already in the first 10 minutes of Afreeca BBQ, and it's even still. Trick and the Skarner has actually been a big pick for him when he went Skarner against Kingzone. That was actually the series that BBQ beat Kingzone the first round robin of spring, and that was perma-ganking bot lane. And if you can get that gank happening pre-6 on a Mordekaiser, pretty happy news for the side of BBQ. It's been close. The Soraka's done their job. Bot lane has done their job. They're in a small CS lead against the Mordekaiser as well. Rest of the map, pretty even at this point in time. I feel like both Spirit and Trick are power leveled. It should be level 6 very soon for Trick because they got so much experience sapping from bot lane.
Yeah. Could see him go for a gank once he hits 6 very soon. He just have Predator. He just hit 6 on the red, so it's definitely the time to look for it, certainly. Now, Spirit himself is level 6. It just hit that. You mentioned that before. We'll see how the battle of the junglers hitting level 6 with their very powerful ultimates does affect this game.
Really not a lot of good lanes to gank for Spirit, though. If the heavy lifting is done by Swain and Darius, maybe the solo lanes can happen, but in a resting state, it's very, very hard to gank the Irelia and Ornn as champions. But bot lane, if they can get on to the Vladimir, via tether goes through the Sanguine Pool as one of those old mechanics that's not discussed a lot. Nocturne and Vlad aren't often in the meta at the same time. Maybe something onto the Vladimir might be the highest rate of success, especially post-6 for Aiming.
Yeah, I have to agree. I feel like if you get Irelia diving into you, that's also an opportunity, but it's not one that you can proactively make happen for sure. And we'll see how that does come in. Trick trying to prove that, hey, I'm the only, when I'm in the lineup, we actually do get a win against a strong team. So trying to prove that he should be the main guy in the jungle.
And he desperately wants to gank around bot side, control bot side Scuttle to stop the Infernal Drake, or any Drakes for that matter, going to the Mordekaiser team. If you're joining us late, big takeaway for Afreeca is true engage. Limited, doesn't have an Ornn or a Skarner who are big engage champions. So it's very much more about controlling objectives. And if you're coming to the team of Afreeca and you can use the paranoia for its strategic value, could be biggest mid lane.
Looking for it, he gets the stun here, but the flash comes in. The Skarner can't get close enough, and the stopwatch coming in as well. The exhaust onto Irelia, but the bot lane is here. You gotta cancel that TP last second. Does the cancel come in from Keen, but they do stop the gank coming in here from the Skarner.
Thames flashes down, but both of Kuro's summoners and his stopwatch now on cooldown. Crazy didn't use anything, so win in terms of the amount of resources used for BBQ, because they still have their top laner. You can get behind the Mordekaiser and Thresh. Maybe bot lane could be a place for Crazy to use that TP.
Yeah, I mean, they have a ward set up for it, but the bot lane is currently back right now. Speaking of which, Keen trying to take a nice little trade against the Ornn. Will be able to do so, but not going to be able to all-in him just yet, especially with no Nocturne to help out.
Let's watch the Reaper here. Check when the Skarner ult was used. I actually just did miss that in Moses. It might have actually been stopwatch. I guess we'll have to see the replay to know. Not 100% no, the Skarner ultimate was used later, I guess, because it is on cooldown. No, it actually was through the stopwatch.
Yeah, it was through the stopwatch.
Couldn't tell if it was a stopwatch or on the Nocturne and got spell shielded, actually, so apologies on that one, but regardless, was wasted, unfortunately, for Trick.
I played some games of Skarner when he was very popular in spring, and so was stopwatch, and that would happen from time to time.
Afreeca really wants this Drake. They know there is some members of BBQ in base. BBQ put so many resources into protecting this, but now the back timers are being abused.
Tempt died, actually, so they do find a way. We're going to take a look at the replay of how he did die.
I feel like we're learning about this game in replay
I know, it's
form.
kind of happening as we go along, huh? Doesn't have his flash, so it's just the easiest setup in the world. And they give the kill over to the Darius, too, which is nice. Keen, their top lane carry. They certainly respect his ability to get fed and carry the game.
Won't need a replay. We had picture-in-picture to see they were pushing mid lane. As see how the dragon training's going for aiming. So far, he's just not being very loyal with his dragon. Run, Noble Dragon.
He's running. Okay. What are you doing now, Dragon?
Dragon's
Get on the
scouting.
job.
He's scouting. Scouting Dragon, he's dead.
He did a lot of damage to the mid lane turret, but unfortunately, the Dragon does go down.
I wish we were watching Mordekaiser at that moment, because he could have just been standing in his place like Deft was early in the season. Looking for Kuro.
Oh, you mentioned his summoners being down, but he gets his ult off early. Here comes the Skarner. This is going to bring him in, but Nocturne here is too, but it is enough, especially with the Wish. 4 members, I guess, in total, including the Soraka, help out and finally killing Kuro.
Seeing a lot of people collapse onto mid lane. A lot of resources used, but they do get the kill. That's the crucial part. Ghost is staying in lane. Just pushing up and getting a bit of CS here to open up a lead. Mordekaiser may not have had, but certainly did not use the Banner of Command to try to punish Vlad when he stayed in lane. Nice little wombo combo onto the mid lane with the stopwatch gone. Much easier. We know how frustrating it is to try to kill a Swain on a turret dive, but the execution from BBQ was pretty clean.
They get everything in here. Ornn, Irelia, and Skarner all commit to this with their ultimates, even the flash in from Trick to make sure that they get in there on time. There you go. Very nicely executed. Good roam down from Crazy, too. Still has his TP.
Timing window is pretty limited when it comes to ganks onto a Swain. Pre-Zonia's after stopwatch is usually the small window, and it will be Zonia's next, you'd have to imagine, from Kuro. Keen's had a day out on top side, but seems to also be going towards a Banner of Command. The rotations have always been crisp for Afreeca in 2018. They're even more straightforward when you throw in the Banner as another resource they can abuse on patch 8.11.
Seems like they definitely understand 8.11 very well, saying, okay, Banner's really good. The fades is very important for a Darius, so you can get that first, but then you're on Banner duty. Keen have to pick that up next, no doubt. And
actually, in this particular matchup, I like it because we've seen quite a lot of let's just build Trinity Force on Darius in every matchup. A lot of Darius versus Mundo, and I can understand it there. Situationally, he finishes the Trinity Force. He doesn't kill Ornn any better because Ornn doesn't have back timers. He just always just pieces together items. So there's never kill pressure onto the Ornn. Why not go for Banner and play the utility game rather than just going for Trinity Force for a team fight that'll probably never come?
Do like that idea. The banner is finished there onto Keen now, so he'll begin pushing in the top side, getting that down here. Will anyone else go banner? Will we have Thresh move into that? He does have the Null Magic Mantle, so it's the beginnings of what could be a banner.
Locket is at a pretty low power level, and there's not really anyone to use a Zeke's on. I guess Nocturne, but yeah, realistically, Thresh was not the best user of Zeke's Convergence because his ultimate isn't always at the start of a fight. Often is, but isn't always. Not quite as clean as other users like Rakan, for example. So, triple banner of command expected. The Zonias soon from Swain. They'll feel good about their team fights. They are a fantastic rotational team. So for the Afreeca Freecs, seems like it's going to be all about moving around the map and just decreasing the areas that Skarner can abuse, because so far Trick has been great when it comes to the ganks this game. But the moment that you get all the outer turrets down, put down the deep vision, make him predictable, Skarner value in the late game already not massive. They can bring the late game earlier by forcing BBQ to react.
Looking for some potential plays up on the top side, but I believe Award does spot the Nocturne making his way up there, and you'll notice Trick just waiting in the brush nearby. So Gank's gonna come on there, and Tucson's checking the brush as well. Seems like they had a decent idea that Trick would be up there.
Storyline for Afreeca that I think a lot of people who don't watch them intently might have missed is the biggest takeaway message for them is how much they practice. The story, they had the 10-man roster first of any team in Korea. A lot of teams copying them in the summer season. Teams have done it before, but they've used all their players in scrim to give everyone a chance. Ignar has cleanse, so he'll get away. I can keep on my story. Thanks, Ignar.
Yeah.
But the other big takeaway is they scrim more than anyone else. Internal scrims that they can get. They scrim 3 or 4 blocks a day if they can get them. And they don't play a lot of solo queues, so it's hard to scout them, and they play so many damn games.
Trying to get onto Kuro here. He actually is forced to flash. That's one of the things that can happen. The threat of the Skarner sometimes is greater than the actual Skarner ultimate. You just want to get yourself out of dodge onto that thing. It's kind of like Blitzcrank in the bottom lane. But now that means that his flash is down. Not so great for Kuro.
Let's look at the jungle stats so far this game. Got the heat map going. Trick's been all over the place. Been focusing on bot side to try to deny the Drakes, but still first Infernal did go the way of the Afreeca Freecs. Drake control against Mordekaiser. Very, very important. Just like your wards on camps against Evelyn. Otherwise, the heat map not so interesting given that Nocturne spent most of his time farming.
They're looking for a second Drake. 5 members of Afreeca coming on in here. Trick deciding, hey, looks like they're going for the Drake. Take down the Spire, and it's checked by the other members. And so trying to go for this Rift Herald now. Are going to be spotted here. Can they burst this down fast enough? I'm not so sure. It's getting pretty low. The TP's coming in now from Crazy. Oh, and there's the smite. They are going to get it. And here comes Trick. He's going to get on top of Tushin, and they will be able to burst him down extremely fast, but there's a dragon trying to help out in this fight. 6v5 right now, turn into a 5v5, and so BBQ actually will back off.
Not able to make anything happen there, Afreeca. They spent so much time closing the distance, they were never in position to really do much. Nice play from Skarner to just kill the Thresh before the rest of his team could react, and the Ornn ultimate was always going to zone afterwards. Rift Herald picked up with a bit of extra gold, got by the kill, but otherwise no big leads for BBQ. Gonna watch the replay. Tucson just walks up for an auto. It was actually pretty greedy by Tucson. It was pretty unnecessary. And then the Ornn ultimate causes pandemonium, around which they're able to kill Thresh. Full disengage by the side of BBQ afterwards. They know they've gotten their lead and they can run away with it. But for Afreeca Freecs, a rare mistake. Sort of thing that I'm sure I Love Uv and Co. will be looking at very closely in the post-game VOD review.
Definitely have to after a play like that. No reason to try to go in there. Maybe if Spirit had been able to engage in some way and they could force a fight, but they weren't close enough. So Rift Herald, let's see if Trick can put it to good use. You have a lot of turrets that are up and ready to try to be pushed, but a lot of them are still pretty healthy. Looks like maybe the bottom lane turret would be the closest, just based on the color of the turrets. Sometimes hard to tell.
Waiting to see where the banners are used well. Banner in bot side, banner in top, banner on the way from the Thresh. Power of the banners in this comp is that we're reaching a point where there'll be 3 banners, and every time a Drake comes on the map, you put down 3 banners, and the enemy team is damned if you do, damned if you don't. You better win that team fight, otherwise the banner will do the heavy lifting on a side lane, so very, very frustrating to play against. Hoping to see Ghost level up his Vladimir play. Already saw Death struggle on Vladimir in our first series of the night, so 80 carries on Vladimir. Kind of goes really well or really poorly, depending on both the player and just honestly game on game.
To me, it's exciting that BBQ is actually sticking in the game here up against Afreeca, right? We were expecting this to be nearly a stomp, right? They're just, Afreeca at this point super ahead of a lot of other teams in the lower quadrant, and BBQ being one of them, actually showing a good performance here in game 1, even if they do not win this one.
There's areas like this to attack. There's very low wave clear on the side of Afreeca. They're just looking for a zone. We'll see if they want to dive.
Oh, they're going to get onto Tushin here, and Vlad in a very nice spot to get their stun down, but the stopwatch is there for Tushin. Going to lock up aiming, but they do get the kill on a Thresh. Daemon getting super low, trying to come in here as Spirit onto the Soraka, and Ignar will be going down. Kuro still with full health, and they're on the chase now. Good stun onto Kuro.
Oh!
He's able to get that W to zone them out. Can he actually catch up is the real question, though. Doesn't look like it, as Kuro is finally going to give up the chase.
Darius desperate to chase on their searing charge from the Ornn through the Apprehend. That would have been another kill. Able to close the distance. Soraka separated and goes down. So nice use of the Nocturne ultimate. Good pick on the bot side. But watch the replay. This is BBQ being assertive. This is the excitement you were mentioning about, as they're doing things at the right moment. Glos gets a very nice flank onto the back line as well. By the time aiming comes in, he's ultimated by the Skarner, but doesn't die instantly. And there's definitely a version of this team fight that is cleaned up by Afreeca, but the chase is halted by their lack of CC.
You mentioned it earlier on, they don't have that hard engage, and you know, if the Darius, if the Swing can get in, they're going to be super scary. And if Afreeca can be proactive and try to start fights where they can force it against BBQ and they don't get picked by BBQ's composition, which is great for doing that, then they'll have an advantage in the fight.
Do you want to hear something spooky?
Yes.
We have Spooky Nocturne, and he's gone Essence Reaver.
That's spooky.
That is manly.
Oh, man.
That is really manly also. This is about getting the maximum amount of Duskbringers, but also spell shields and fear tethers. He might be able to put out 2 fear tethers in a fight. If he's chasing one person, he is actually going to be very, very sticky. He doesn't have Frozen Mallet that another Nocturne in the past might have done.
Spooky.
That is a pretty good combo. That's what every Nocturne aspires to be. So that's the first time I'm seeing Essence Reaver Nocturne. Very expensive, but he's power farmed. He's got 30% CDR just from the Warrior and the Essence Reaver.
Yeah.
All right, Spirit, you're showing us something new.
Well, he's shown what he can do against a Soraka that has no health. He can go whatever item he wants, and he'll be able to do that time and time again. That was actually Ignar flashing away from the Darius, who was breathing down her neck, so... yeah, I mean, just got separated, unfortunately. It was the only casualty there for BBQ. Let's take a look at the damage. The Swain, he does a lot of damage. He was full health even towards the end of that fight, but he wasn't able to secure any kills, more importantly.
And that will be a growing trend this game. We saw Swain banned in our last series. We've mentioned that Swain and Anivia feel like the counters to the current meta, with so many bruises going around, and Swain will sit in the middle of a fight, and neither Temp nor Ghost have burst damage, so it's very, very difficult to get through Azonia's Swain. He's their trump card.
They try to engage once again. Proactive here is BBQ, only going to knock up Tucson. And they actually get up to the Skarner now. The Doctor go in, he gets super low, and they do finally get him. Nice job by Kuro. Spirit, though, and Keen have to back away. Trick still in the front line, fighting for the team of Afreeca. Now they're going to get the upper hand there onto Ghost. Not anywhere for him to go. He will zone his, but down he will go. So an even fight, but it does go the way of Afreeca 2-0.
It's just so punishing to fight against Swain, Mordekaiser, Darius when you also are looking to teamfight. Teamfight comps are in vogue. Everyone's playing bruisers, no one's playing range champions. If everyone's in melee range of Mord, Swain, and also the Darius, this is going to often be the result, as we might see a trade of an Inferno for Baron.
You got to take what you can get when you lose 2 members, including your jungler. You're gonna have to give up the Baron, so you get the Infernal Drink, but down goes the bigger buff, and Afreeca finally gaining some distance in this game.
A long time. They've had to keep at it. Credit to BBQ, who have been very competitive in the early game. Once again, engaged by BBQ. Afreeca wants you to come to them, but they get the hook in, the apprehend onto the Skarner. They use the paranoia to force everyone else to back away. They kill closest target, and then it's one of those 6v5s, and it's still Swain sitting in the middle of everyone, and well played out by the side of Afreeca Freecs.
Kuro, we had in the original, when we had him on camera before the game started, it was Kuro just feeling really good, right? He is having so much fun on Swain and Anivia. We talked about, the Ezreal. We talked about other big...
You pulled a great stat for DPM of champions so far on the LCK. You should tell the viewers about what champion has the highest damage dealt. The highest DPM,
I think it was Anivia, right?
The highest DPM of any champions is Vlad and Swain. Doing plenty of damage. But the highest average DPM of any champion so far this season has been Anivia, mostly because of that one game where everyone sat in the Anivia R. But it felt like hours.
Yeah, and when you don't have an AD carry that's critting you in the face, the Swain just sits in the middle of the fight and he's just laughing at everyone. He doesn't take any damage. He sucks the life of every single person on BBQ and nobody can kill him.
What do the games where Swain doesn't work look like? Swain is kited, Swain can't get to the fight, everyone outranges him, so he's just sitting there frustrated. That is not the current meta. Anivia and Swain are the counters to the current meta. They've got a very comfortable lane matchup. It takes time. The Zonias needs to be there for the health reset. Swain in a great spot, and Crazy, it's time to fight again.
This is going to be a really good call, the Forge God, but they get the hook on the trick, and they are going to pull him in. Trying to burst him down now with Spirit. They're actually going to get Irelia on the right side. That will be Irelia fighting for the side of Afreeca. Now they finally get onto Skarner as well. And even though the engage looked good, it just wasn't enough. Afreeca way too far ahead. Even Kuro trying to style a little bit with a flash never moved. And well, that might just do it. They have all the Barons, they have the TP.
They got an Irelia.
There they go. They have an Irelia fighting for them. 6v4. Is this fair?
No.
BBQ must not feel that way. And it's going to be a quick game here. 26 minutes. Kind of what I expected. Trying to get more kills on Ignar on the backside, but it will be 1-0 favor of Afreeca.
Afreeca Freecs close it out so cleanly. They were ahead for less of this game than BBQ. They were control for honestly less of the game than BBQ was after Trick made so many good moves around the bot side of the map. But then they turned on, they were able to use the win conditions to their comp, which heavily punished hard engage. Enemy team had hard engage. This meta is about fighting. They were one step ahead in execution and team comp around that. A lot to like about BBQ. I thought this was a pretty spirited performance from them, but sadly no game victory in game number 1.
I don't think that Afreeca is the team that they're going to find game victories against, but showing some signs of life, as we said before. Just not falling over and dying was BBQ in this game, making it interesting for the first 20 minutes. But then after that, it was all Afreeca's game. They played that Darius, Thresh, Swain composition. It wasn't the hard engage, but BBQ was doing the engaging for them. Once Afreeca got ahead, they were just having their way with them.
They got so many banners that maybe you have to engage, and BBQ have a low wave clear as well. You just go into closest target, and what exactly do you do when Mord and Darius and Swain are running at you with consistent, annoying damage and CC? You can't kill any of them. Keen is just walking around, getting reset after reset. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You face Afreeca at the moment, you just end up losing.
Yeah, I was paying attention in that fight to the Skarner being just hooked into Nevermove, into this and that, but it was really about the Darius and the Mord up on the right side, the Irelia just getting hooked in and totally useless in the entirety of that fight. At that point, it was a foregone conclusion, but either way, guys, we're going to go to another 10-minute break before game number 2, these two teams.